let RG Bank help you. And they help us out, bringing us our news, which is great. Thank you very much. And we're going to get to our show. It's the 5th Friday of May. So we're featuring the Pagosa Springs Medical Center today. And EMS Chief and Director of EMS, Jason Webb, is here.
Good morning, Will.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm really happy it's getting warm outside.
Yeah, it's really nice today. And it is getting warm.
And I want to...
People are arriving. It's busy.
Summer's kicking off.
So what's happening at the hospital these days?
Oh, as usual, a lot is always happening at the hospital. But today I'm going to mostly talk about EMS-related stuff that's happening at the hospital. The first kind of topic I want to talk about is we were able to secure a new ambulance, and it has arrived in Pagosa.
Nice.
We're very excited
Congrats
about it.
on that.
Yeah, thank you. It's a big ordeal to get an ambulance. It takes about 2 years from beginning to end, maybe 2.5 years beginning to end, to secure the funding, work with the vendors, build the ambulance, get it licensed, permitted, all the steps that you have to do to make an ambulance work. But we're very close.
Came from the Pacific Northwest somewhere?
Yeah.
Seattle
So the vendor we work with, they're in Washington State, the state of Washington, and that's where they build custom ambulances up there to be able to meet our needs. Our ambulance should be out on the streets within probably a week or so. We're waiting on a couple of small things to complete before we can put it out on the streets. But when community sees it, it's got new marketing graphics on the outside of it that look like the medical centers, and mostly we really want to make sure.
Because the medical center owns it.
That's right. The medical center owns the ambulance.
We tell
so
people all the time.
That's right. We do, and people still are unclear on that, which is we're working on trying to clarify that message.
Is it replacing another ambulance, or is it in addition to, you can use this one in addition, so now you have more?
It's replacing one that is almost 20 years old. And the big thing for me as an EMS chief, as we're running those ambulances around, are kind of two front. The first one is safety, and a few years ago we worked with this vendor to like I said, they do custom ambulances, and we were able to incorporate a lot of safety concepts into the ambulance build.
Customized for this area.
Customized for the patient and provider in the back. If there was a crash that were to happen, to assure that the passengers are safe. And it's built very ergonomically. So the big thing for my EMS providers is that they can take care of patients while seated in a seatbelt position, which is kind of a newer concept. When I first started in EMS, we kind of stood in the back of an ambulance while it was moving, and I like to tell people, I wouldn't recommend this, but when I was a kid, riding in the back of a pickup truck and, trying to work and do things to save lives, give medicine, start IVs and stuff, that's a challenge. So being able to do that in a seated position is much better. It's got enhanced communication systems in there, so we can communicate with law enforcement, our dispatch center, the fire department. So a lot of kind of neat features, 4-wheel drive as the elements happen here to get us to places. So that's the first part, is kind of the safety build and operation part of it. But the other part that I'm really proud about is what we're hoping, the long-term cost efficiency of the ambulance. Working with the vendor, one of the reasons we chose this vendor is they build their boxes out of aluminum. And so how it works, an ambulance is built, is it's basically a basic truck chassis that you would buy, a big pickup truck, a dually pickup truck. And then the box part is manufactured and designed and built, and then they add that on top of it. And
like you can 1 ton or something?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So you can build those boxes out of lots of different materials. But the reason we chose aluminum is because of how sturdy it can be, and it can be remountable. And so a normal ambulance, brand new right now, is well over $300,000 per ambulance just to build it. That's with nothing in it. That's just the ambulance itself. And what we're hoping as a community, as a service, is that by using a different material of aluminum to build these boxes, when the truck part, the motor and the transmission and all that kind of go bad, and it becomes no longer cost efficient to fix those things, that we just buy a new chassis, and then that box gets lifted off the truck and put right back down on the truck. And then they can kind of clean it up and make it look new again. Right. And the cost efficiency of that, it's almost half. It's about $150,000 as opposed to $300,000.
It's probably lighter too.
Yes, it is, as opposed to some other materials that could be built. Well, when you're thinking about it in one truck, okay, maybe the listeners might think, well, that is some cost savings, but not huge. But, we have 5 ambulances we're running. So now we're running, you start adding those numbers together, and you can potentially have some significant cost savings. And so we have now 3 ambulances that are built this way. We've got a couple more to go before we start the remount process. But I think all in all, it's a good approach to try to be cost efficient, to make sure we got the most important piece of equipment in our service, which is the ambulance. We can't function without it. So we're really proud of it, and I hope the community likes it and recognizes it. It'll be out there, like I said, probably in about a week. We'll see it. It'll be in service.
We'll look for it. Yeah, maybe on the east side, staged over there, as we've seen. You guys have been working around the construction too.
Yes, that's a good point, Will. Kind of moving into my next topic. Summer is here. Pagosa is such a fun place.
Yep.
Lots of different events and different things going on. And then we all are learning how to work through kind of the remodel of our downtown area and the road system down there. And I've received a lot of questions from community members, wanting to make sure that we've got, efficient response, and that the construction companies are working with us in public safety to be able to still perform our services. And the answer is absolutely yes. These guys have been great to work with. I know it's an inconvenience downtown. I totally understand that. Businesses have definitely felt the impact of it. But from a public safety perspective, we meet with these guys weekly. We're able to come up with different concerns that we may have to make sure that we can respond. And we've put an ambulance on the east side of town, and that allows us to kind of bypass a lot of that. Definitely had a lot of people notice that and ask me about it. And it's not 24/7, but it's kind of during the peak time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it'll be really important. I was just working with our Deputy Chief, Connie Cook, the other day, and kind of lining out the summer months of what events that EMS needs to be at and be prepared for. And I think it's already added to this, but as of a week ago, we had over 20 events scheduled that we are going to be at and perform some sort of standby service within the community. Graduation, or we won't be at the graduation piece, but we will make sure we got an ambulance close if something were to happen. But we have rodeo events that are happening, the 4th of July events, the county fair is a big event that happens. And then as we get into the fall, we support the school with the football games and whatnot. And so the key to any EMS service is, success is time, is muscle, time is everything. The quicker we can get an ambulance somewhere, usually the better the outcome. Mm-hmm. And so we've definitely put that ambulance on the east side of town. We're going to be around or at all these events. Some of them we're not going to be directly at the event, but we'll be very close by positioning that ambulance over there. So the next topic I wanted to bring up, last week was EMS week, and a lot of professions have a dedicated week of acknowledgement of whatever that job type that's important for our community. And last week was EMS week, and I wanted to talk a little bit about a cool event that happened. There was a viewing of a documentary at Fort Lewis College that happened, and there was quite a few people that attended down there locally, including some of our elected officials. I'll call it Veronica Medina was down there to support the EMS cause, which was super cool. Mm-hmm. But the movie itself is a documentary that was put together by a lady who had 3 kids that were in EMS, and she got to really see as a parent kind of the inside of EMS, and she was a filmmaker, and she put together a story about what the current status of EMS in our country, and the movie itself is called Honorable But Broken. I think it's EMS in Crisis. Mm-hmm. Sarah Jessica Parker, or if you've ever watched Sex and the City, is the person who narrates it. Mm-hmm. And you can find it on Tubi for free on TV, or it's on Amazon for, I think it's $1 on Amazon, but it's definitely worth your time to watch. The point of it is to bring awareness to the current status of EMS across the country. And there's 2 main topics, I guess, that I would point out that the point of the movie is to try to raise awareness and promote advocacy, if people feel inclined to do such, related to EMS services. And one of them, the 2 topics are one is the backbone of EMS is obviously the finances and how it's funded. Mm-hmm. And it's really quite broken, Will. Finances for EMS come, generally speaking, from a few different places. One, it can come from local taxes. Two, through billing. Or three, state funds and grants, right? And in our community here, there's currently not a local tax that directly supports EMS at all. There is a mill levy that goes to the hospital, but it's not for EMS. Years ago, there used to be an EMS mill levy, but I believe it's sunsetted. The big point that they're trying to make on this, I guess there's two of them. One, in 22 out of the 50 states, EMS is not considered an essential service. And when you identify something as an essential service, that allows more direct streaming of funding into that system, whether that comes from the local municipalities or the state through taxpayer funds. Currently, the state of Colorado, we are not an essential service.
That's wild. Yeah, just listen to the scanner and
you'll
know that it's essential.
Yeah, I mean, we run over 2,000 incidences a year. And I mean, it's definitely needed for the well-being of a community. And there's a big push within the state to try to promote that advocacy, to try to make it an essential service in the state of Colorado, and that can unlock some funding to help support the EMS service. The second part of it is, the insurance billing side of it. I like to call out to people when we're trying to bill for our services. Number one, we only actually get to bill roughly about 60% of the work that we do by law, the way that it's created, the way that it's regulated. Many things we go on, and we can't bill. The only time we can bill is actually when we transport somebody to the hospital. But we go on lots of things where we go and check things out and provide treatment and care and make sure everybody's okay, and we can't bill for any of those services, which is kind of interesting, right? The other side of it is when we're working with the insurance companies, we're getting cents on the dollar for our services. And I believe in our community here, our reimbursement is roughly 40 cents to every dollar that we bill for EMS services. So you take in the fact that you can only bill 60% of your services, and of those that you can actually bill for, you're going to get 40 cents on the dollar. You can see how that creates a funding problem. Add that on top of EMS is not considered an essential service, and lack of state funding, that really makes it hard to keep money moving into the system. And EMS systems are expensive. I just talked about ambulances and staff and all that. It can be very hard to keep things afloat.
Is that because some communities have EMS that is kind of it's a business? It's like people have ambulance businesses.
Yeah, they have private businesses as well.
Probably in the bigger cities or whatever.
I will say in those systems, Will, that a lot of them, that your biggest cost comes from your 911 function of your EMS system. EMS services do all kinds of things, primarily 911. 911, you have a huge cost because you have to have everything available 24/7. You don't know when that call's coming in, so you have a cost 24/7. Private services a lot of times can limit their hours of service, and they can do things to become more efficient and profitable. But when you have a jurisdiction where you're responsible for 911, like Pagosa Springs Medical Center does, you have costs 24/7 a day, and so those costs can add up quite a bit. So I wanted to draw people to that attention to that funding part. And that funding part, that lack of funding part, leads to my next point, which is there's a huge shortage in staffing in EMS across the country. Most of that is, in my opinion, is all money related, because it's hard to pay a good wage to somebody that has a huge responsibility to respond and be available and knowledgeable on how to manage any crisis they might develop.
Get the training.
Yeah, training and all that kind of stuff. Our guys work 56 hours a week. Most people don't work that many hours, you know what I mean? And then there's a huge toll that goes along with that by working those long hours, by taking the very nature of what they do. I just read a statistics out of the Department of Labor. 3 in 10 EMS providers are suffering from PTSD symptoms. That's pretty. 3 in 10. That's pretty high, and it rivals even military personnel as well. And that's kind of a big deal. I also saw a stat where, due to the nature of the work, EMS providers are 3 to 4 times more likely to be injured on the job than other occupations out there, than the average occupation. So 300 to 400 3 to 4 times. That is a significant amount. Many of those can even be from being assaulted, which is kind of crazy. So you take all that together and you have, a strained funding system, and then you have a lack of staffing, and it becomes really challenging to deliver that.
Sure.
So where we see the challenge of that the most are in rural places. And so I really wanted to bring forth that attention to people as just awareness. Watch the documentary, learn a little bit more of the details about it, and come up with your own opinions about what you think should happen. So
interesting. Yeah, check it out. Honorable but broken. So we'll take a quick break, check on the river, and then come back and talk a little more. Jason, thank you. Yeah,
sounds
okay.
Good.
So here we go, and stay tuned. Good morning, Pagosa, with Jason and the Medical Center and EMS this morning. Jason Webb.
That's me.
You're like the spokesperson. You've probably done more shows than anyone at the medical center, but I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for always having me on.
Of course. We were going to talk about one more thing.
Yeah, I wanted to draw one cool thing that I wanted people to raise awareness to people in the community. The hospital has been working on a multi-year project, and it's about to go live here in June, but I'm really excited about it. I've got to work on it as well, and we're about to have what's called an oxygen generator. For those that don't kind of understand what I'm meaning, oxygen is probably the number one medicine that's given in any hospital setting. It's a key, almost utility. I would consider it a utility, but it's needed for patient care. And living in a rural place, it becomes very challenging to be able to deliver high amounts of oxygen and get high amounts of oxygen. And we've been able to work on this project where we've acquired what's called an oxygen generator, and there's actually 2 of them in the building. But it's like a concentrator that people would see at home if you've ever worn or had a loved one wear oxygen at home, where you have that device that kind of sucks the oxygen out of the air, concentrates it, and then is able to deliver it. This is a facility size one. It's ginormous. The thing is able to.
How big is it?
Well, I mean, probably the size of this radio booth here. I mean, it's pretty big. And there's 2 of them in there. And what that does is it'll pull the oxygen out of the air, concentrate it, and we're going to pipe it into the building. So then when you're connected to oxygen, that's where the oxygen source is coming from. And this is such a huge improvement in our building and our infrastructure. Right now, the system that we have is we basically daisy chain together multiple tanks together, fixed tanks, big oxygen tanks together, that we have to get from Albuquerque. So over 4.5 hours away is where the distributor sends those tanks. So in times where the roads are bad or weather's bad, or they have a workforce shortage, it can be hard to get that key medicine that we need to help treat people. Well, now we're going to be able to just generate it on site, and so we're going to be able to make it, suck it out of the air, and push it into the system. And so I think it's a huge upgrade to our medical center, and allows us to be very resilient, especially when we have weather and different events that impact us. And so I'm pretty excited about it. I also want to throw out that our service lines are still accepting patients. Dr. Barry Holcomb, who's going to be
speaking of pulmonary,
very happy about oxygen.
Right, at this elevation and all that too.
He's been a key player in helping us plan this, but he's still accepting patients and does his pulmonary function tests there at the medical center. That's a new thing. Physical therapy, we're still ramping up, still trying to get our building available to be able to see patients in there, but the therapists themselves are already seeing patients, and they've found another place within the medical center to start seeing people. So if you have a physical therapy need, or we even brought on an occupational therapist as well. If you need those services, 970-731-3700, and you can schedule your services. So medical center's always got a lot going on. I always appreciate getting to come on and share with the listeners what we have going on. It's such a really cool organization, community focused, and all about taking care of the people in Pagosa, and I just love that. So thanks, Will.
Great people and great service, amazing service, considering where we are and all that, and the miles you guys have to travel with your ambulance.
Yes, sir. 1,800 square miles. It's a long ways.
That's a lot. So thank you, Jason. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Will.
Have a great day, and we'll see you later. Yep. Okay, we're going to get to our Western Daybreak Ag News next. And thanks Jason Webb and everyone at Pagosa Springs Medical Center.